Good morning, everybody. Want to welcome everybody to our first ever in state history. The Select Committee for Technology and Responsive Government. And going to have some opening statements here just to kind of give an outline of what we're going to be doing here with our committee work, kind of our tenure of this plan and our future as I see it, kind of. And we'll have a chance to kind of introduce each other to what we do and maybe why you think this is going to be a cool idea, which is a requirement to say what a cool idea this is going to be. So I just wanted to also thank the speaker for putting this team together, for allowing us to sort of do what I think is going to be the fun work of government and to allow us to dream a little bit. Normally, we're all just wrapping up a lot of heavy committee work, and we finished our deadlines. We got into the weeds on a lot of different bills, a lot of different issues that are all super important, and this one is just as important, but we had to kind of make some exceptions when it came to our scheduling because this is a team that needs to be, in my opinion, really bipartisan and really something that we can collaborate without getting into the weeds about how many full-time equivalents are at Minute and how many other things they're spending. You know what, we have those committees that deal with that, and that's important stuff. And we want to understand what challenges are for vendors and for our customers and our residents in Minnesota that actually want to use our technology. But as I have learned over a short time that I've been a representative for my area is that it's hard to navigate around a lot of our websites with Minnesota. All the information I think is there. It's just sometimes hard to find it. And I think a lot of our goals and our attempts to reach will be to really find better, easier ways to be mobile and be accessible and to have kind of that cool Amazon experience, if you will, when it comes to how we touch Minnesota government. When we want to pay bills, when we may want to pay a parking ticket, or whether we want to do something. That was a reaction, I'm sorry, Pete. But it's something that I think we want to make sure that we listen to Minnesotans too about what do you think we should be able to do. And I think our tagline, as I've kind of done early on in our discussions about what's this committee work going to be do, it's like we want to find out what should we be able to do when it comes to our technology. What could we do? What should we be able to do? And there's a lot of states doing some really cool things. So part of our homework, I hope, too, as a committee that we work together in the next couple of years will be to do our research and find other states and other cool ideas that we can possibly bring here. And how do we institute those kind of things? And again, if we come to a day or two and we have some recommendations, then we actually have to do our work and go back to other committees that have the finance authority that we do not have and the oversight authority that we do not have. But we have some really good government committees that, again, state gov ops, transportation, if we have some transportation ideas, if we have education ideas, we've got to make sure that we go through the proper channels when that time is right. So again, I just want to welcome everybody here today. We have a pretty clean agenda today. We're going to be hearing from Minute and where they're at. Before we do that, however, again, I just want to welcome again all the members that have agreed to serve on this committee. I'm honored to ask to be asked from the speaker to do this, and so with that, I guess what I'll do is I just want to introduce everybody here that will have them do that as well. Again, my name is Representative Dave Baker. I serve from Candiota County in District 17B. I'm not a technology guy either, but I'm a customer service guy. I run a hospitality company, and so I know how important it is to make it easy for people to use your services. And we charge our residents a lot of money to live here through taxes and through other things like that. So I think there should be a good return on that when it comes to our mobile world that we live in and the way we will continue to move in that direction. I see nothing stopping continued growth in that area. We just need to make sure now that our state government is lining up to be ready for that. and I'm just excited that all of you are here to help us with that. So with that, again, I'm honored to be here as the chair. Representative Olson, if we could start from you, and then we'll just kind of work our way this way. And again, when it gets to staff, I want to hear from the staff as well, introduce who you are and your role as well. So let's do that. So, and I also want to make sure Annika and Lee, our pages are identified. They're probably the two most important people here. And they probably understand technology better than most of us here as well. So thanks for being here as well. Representative Olson.
I'm Representative Liz Olson, serving my first term. I'm from Duluth, District 7B, so central and western parts of Duluth, and happy to be on this committee as well. I think it's great to do the bipartisan work, and I also serve on state government finance, so I've had a chance to dive into Minute this year as we did budgeting and whatnot, so appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you.
Representative Jamie Becker-Finn. I represent the northern suburbs of Ramsey County, so part of Roseville, part of Shoreview, Little Canada, Vadnais Heights, and Gem Lake. And I don't technically have a technology background, but I'm really excited about this. I think I might be the youngest person on this committee, so hopefully that will be helpful. I enjoy technology, and I also serve on the Environment and Natural Resources Committee, and I actually think there are a lot of opportunities there where we could be making things more user-friendly for folks, so excited to be here.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members. Representative Jim Nash from Carver County, 47A, and I am a technology guy. I own a technology analyst firm, and many of my clients are people who sell into the state of Minnesota. I have had long and protracted conversations with Mr. Oman, Mr. Boozy over there, Mr. Eichten, many people from Minute. And my personal paradigm on this is that IT touches every Minnesotan, whether it is the retail aspect of technology or the backbone that they depend on to have things just work. And I've had a few IT nerd moments, and some of my folks that are here in committee with us can attest to that. But IT is the thing that should always work and never be necessarily that glaring issue. It should always just work. And I think that we have an opportunity to get to that. The State Gov 5 piece is another aspect, but this is the more retail or client-facing. And there are some things that we've done in State Gov 5 that will dovetail nicely into this. So I'm excited to be here, and I promise to keep the nerd moments to a bare minimum, but there will be some. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Good morning, members. My name is Dwayne Quam. I have part of Olmsted and Dodge County College. I TA'd algorithm courses for CSI majors. I did Monte Carlo simulation, part of my graduate project for imaging. In real life, I was part of the hardware design team for servers, supercomputers, and I helped develop transceivers for optical and copper transmission at 10 gig rates. So I'm somewhat familiar with both the hardware, software, and project orientation of these type of things.
Thank you.
Peter Globa, Committee Legislative Assistant. I'm also the LA for Representative Dave Baker. And for the record, I haven't had a ticket since 1996.
Thanks for the clarification. All right, Gavin.
Gavin Hansen, Committee Administrator.
Brian Cook, Republican Caucus Research.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Eric Lucero, and I am from the Albertville, St. Michael area, just up 94, just outside the Twin Cities. And my background, I am a technologist. So I started at the bottom of the totem pole, the help desk, when I started my IT career about 15 years ago, answering calls. Back then, dial-up internet was still dominant. DSL had been around for a while, but there was still a lot of dial-up customers. So started on the help desk and worked my way up through network administrator, then server administrator, and then made the jump into cybersecurity. So I've had a great deal of the network infrastructure and the technologies that go around it. And again, the last 10 years or so, I've been focused on cybersecurity. And along the way, I have also taught college. So I taught college voice and data communications, computer forensics, computer security, and many other courses for about 7 years. I'm not doing that anymore. Had to drop something when this role is very time consuming. But then when, in your opening remarks, Mr. Chair, you mentioned customer service. And so I was very excited and honored to be asked to serve in this committee. And in the light of customer service, one of the things that I always think about, and I've never forgot, when I went to the Carlson School for my MBA, one of my courses, I forget the title of the course, but the instructor pounded into us, voice of the customer. There are many businesses that have spent a lot of time, energy, money developing products and services where the customer voice was absent. And then that product or service turned out not to be very successful. So it's very important for business, and in this context, the government, to ensure that there's a means to capture the voice of the customer so that any products or services that are being delivered do meet the needs of the customers, in this case, the citizens of Minnesota. So again, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Good morning. I'm Representative Mary Kunish-Podine. I represent District 41B, which is Columbia Heights and Hilltop, the southern half of New Brighton and St. Anthony Village. I, by profession, am a library media specialist. I've taught technology skills to kindergartners through middle school, and as well as a lot of professional development for our staff at our school district. And when we talk about who our customers are, there's no better than little kids to tell you what's not right and what's wrong, what works and what doesn't work, as well as teachers. So as we're going through this, I guess we need to keep our lens on the end user and the ease of it, and how accessible it is, and just make sure that any kindergartner, second grader, third grader can access the information with ease too. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. It's good to be here. I'm Peggy Bennett. I represent 27A, which is southern Minnesota, Albert Lea being the largest community. And Representative Kunish-Podine, don't you wish that we adults could learn technology as quickly as kids learn it? They're so good at it. I'm a former elementary school teacher, similar to the representative next to me. I taught mostly first grade for 33 years and fairly recently retired. I also had a second job for many years in my school as a building technology coordinator, and I love technology. I'm kind of like a little bit of the nerd like you were talking about. And I'm really looking forward. I think this is going to be a fun committee. So my job as a coordinator was for technology. I was kind of the first line of defense for troubleshooting, but I also did a lot of staff development. I got to kind of pioneer the smart board in my school district and pilot that, and I also taught at TIES up in the Twin Cities for a few years, taught some things there to teachers. So I am really looking forward to this committee.
Great. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members, I'm Helen Roberts from the House Fiscal Staff.
And Mr. Chair, Matt Gehring from Nonpartisan House Research. I also staff Government Operations and State Government Finance Committee.
Thank you all, and again, welcome. It's great to have everybody here. I just, and I want to also maybe make a shout out to our friends from Willmar-Canada County that just arrived. There's a group of students here that are actually juniors and seniors in West Central Minnesota that are going to be hopefully budding entrepreneurs. They're in an entrepreneur class called the KCEO. It's the K stands for Candy Ojai, the CEO, Creating Entrepreneurial Opportunities. And I welcome them. They're going to be meeting with Governor Dayton later today. We're having some meetings because they have a very unique entrepreneurship program that we want to share with other rural communities about how amazing that is. And when you hear these students speak, or at least when the governor will later today, it's going to be pretty neat. So I just want to welcome them. And they're going to be laughing at us the whole time because they already get the technology thing. And this is how government works. We have it all here, but we just now need to put the shiny bow on it and the shiny objects to make it really work well for citizens like you folks. So I just want to say welcome to you guys that are all here this morning, too. They came in from a couple hours away. Anyhow, with that, members, thank you very much for that. We're going to turn it over to Minute. We've got some representatives here this morning, and we are anxious to hear that. I want to also, again, thanks to the State Gov Op members that are already here have heard these conversations already. So thanks for sitting through it one more time and allowing us to kind of catch up with members of that committee as well. So to our testifiers, if you'd introduce yourself for the record and please proceed with this amazing new program you're going to show us. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, my name is Jesse Oman, and I serve as the Deputy of Minnesota IT Services.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Jenna Covey. I am an Assistant Commissioner and Chief Digital Officer at Minute Services.
I want to start today by also thanking all of you for serving on this committee. Obviously, this is a topic that's near and dear to IT Services' heart and one we're always passionate about. We'd like to ground set today as our first meeting around three main topic areas. The first, giving a little history a minute, and as you referenced before, this is going to be a repeat for a number of you who have already had to sit through this, so I ask you to bear with us on that. Second, we're going to touch on our 5-year master plan, which has just been refreshed here in the last month or so, and be able to give some highlights there. And then we'd like to end our presentation with really highlighting some of the citizen-facing websites and applications that we currently do have, and really get into what's currently available. From there, we are happy to be able to take any questions and really see where we want to take this committee in next steps. So as I'm sure many of you know at this point, Minute or Minnesota IT Services came about due to bipartisan legislation passed in 2011. It is focused mostly on the executive branch. Prior to this, you had IT embedded in all of the individual agencies and boards across that executive branch, which means you had different standards, different levels of maturity, and different processes. And while there were some attempts to be able to leverage economy of scale across that, it was more in an ad hoc nature and didn't necessarily have a forward-looking plan. When that agency came together, it pulled out existing IT resources and assets from those agencies. The combined agency ended up being right around 2,000 staff and about a $450 million budget. Focus-wise, as I said, we are really focused on the executive branch and boards and commissions. There's about 70 of them. Location-wise, because of how diverse Minnesota is, we actually serve around 90 locations. And of course, serving that many different agencies, the lines of business we are charged with partnering with are very diverse and run the full gambit of many of the committees that you guys serve on. So that incorporates over 35,000 end users. It means that we're charged with protecting 5.5 million records of Minnesota's data. It also means we have a large portfolio of applications and projects that we need to both manage, to be able to deliver on, and to be able to map out and be able to provide in the future. We often talk as if consolidation was a singular point in time, that it occurred in 2011 and it was magically done. It has been a journey, and it's one that I want to highlight, and I know the print is a little small here, but mostly give you a sense of all of the different milestones we've had to hit, both from a financial, from bringing the people together from a payroll, and one that continues forward as we look to really be able to optimize the application portfolio and the infrastructure that we have. It was really just July of this past year, 2016, when the payroll for the last few agencies moved completely under Minute. So what you're really seeing illustrated in that time frame is all of the different milestones around bringing in the payroll, bringing in the procurement, and really making sure that we had a complete view of what the IT is in the state of Minnesota. It's been a journey, but I think it's one that we're now poised to really be able to take advantage of and look to move forward. One of the things we did in early 2016 under the leadership of our Commissioner Baden, who came in 2015, was really to reimagine what was our mission, vision, and values. Were we aligned correctly to service our business partners? And as part of doing some of the changes we felt were needed to make sure that alignment was optimized, we redid that mission, vision, and values. You'll actually find in your handouts on one of the pages a page that actually goes through what I'm touching on here in the slides, if you guys want to take a look at them there. But you'll notice in our mission, and I'm not going to read it to you, some of the key words that you're going to see reflected and repeated in all of that. Partner, deliver, and transform. Those are the key pillars that we really believe in as an IT service and working with our partners. You see that reflected in our vision, partners in performance. That true belief that we need to be aligned with our business partners, the agencies, to be able to allow them to fulfill what visions they have and drive it forward. You'll see it repeated in our values. Partner again, deliver, transform, and I believe what this committee is looking to do, really be able to connect with citizens going forward. I think there is also some complexities with how we actually deliver and how Minnesota works. We are a chargeback agency. Less than 0.5% comes directly to Minnesota IT services. The rest are charged back, which means that agencies pay us to be able to be that internal service provider based on what we provide them. There's many ways you can organize an IT structure. You often see companies go to a centralized, and then a decentralized, and then sometimes back to a centralized. Why would you do this? Typically, you centralize when you want to get economy of scale, when you want to have tight controls over what the technology is, when you want to be able to be as efficient as possible. You typically see decentralized when you want to be close to the business, nimbleness, speed to market. What Minute as a strategy has decided to move forward with is a hybrid of these two approaches. On the top level, anything that we can basically see from an economy, OS level and below, we're going to look to be able to bring together in that centralized model. Anything above that that's close to the agencies, that's specific to their applications, we have that as a local service. So those local services means that budget is set directly working with that agency. The charges are pass-through, so it is literally if they want 15 IT people, then that is what they'll be charged. If they want specific software, then they will carry the cost of that software. It also allows the agency to be able to increase or decrease the demand as they wish. This is really one of our visions as that partner, is to be able to put those controls and those levers into the agency's hands while laying a base level that we believe you need to be at from a security or from just an industry standard level. Now, when we talk local services and I talk about the distinctness of that, that doesn't mean that we don't look across for where could we find shared solutions. But I will tell you, we are at the beginning of that. It has taken a long time to even try to pull together what are all those applications out there. And I think this is one of our key areas we still have to be able to work going forward, is how can we rationalize some of those application portfolios and look to do more cross-agency solutions. Enterprise services, those that I really talk about the economy of scale, that are common out in the industry, where I think we can really squeeze some of the value out of, are actually set by a cross-business and IT governance group. That's one of the changes that we've really gone through in the past year, is to set up a governance group that includes both our business partners and IT at the table. And for us to ask them, what do you think makes sense for us to deliver from a high level and an enterprise level that won't impede your business going forward? These are rate-based, so when you hear rates with Minute, this is really what you're talking about, is that enterprise level. Those rates are set by forecasting out by the agencies the amount of volume or how much usage they're going to have, and then what it costs to deliver that. Those are then put through a calculation, and that is the race, or that is the rates. Now, those beginning volumes are just a forecast. We only bill on actuals. And the point of each of those rates, those individual services, is to be at break even. So one of the complexities Minute has is being a chargeback is if, say, we are actually seeing better performance and we're actually seeing that they're using more of a certain service and maybe we're over recovering money, we actually then return that back to the agencies in the form of a rebate to them. For under recovering, either we look to be able to cut, depending on where we're at, why are we under recovering, or if there's been some change, the fundamental nature of that service, we'd need to go back to our business partners in MMB and re-examine why that's the case. The third pillar that we really rely on in our delivery is public-private partnerships. We really want to be a model of what I would see as modern IT delivery, which is you do internally what makes sense and you can't procure in the marketplace. That you can, you partner with them. It makes the most sense, it allows speed to market, and it's a philosophy we are driving forward hard. Just a couple of examples of this that we do right now. Minnesota IT Services provides a network across the state. Many of counties, many of the schools, many of local governments, as well as our agencies rely on and connect with that. Out of that network, 95% of it is private industry. It is literally just us piecing it together and being able to bring together all of those different companies that provide the service and match it into a giant network. Another great example of what we have is recently we've had to actually refresh our mainframes because we are not at a point where we can get off the mainframe. And we were faced with that classic, do we go out and buy more mainframes, knowing that our plan is to really modernize a lot of these systems and be off of it. Instead of going forward with a purchase, what we really looked at was partnering with an outside company that allows us to truly have mainframe as a service, which means they were able to place it in our data center, but we don't own it. And what we pay is how much of that mainframe they place there we use. Now, this also requires forward looking, because in year one, it would have been cheaper for us just to buy. But as we project out over the next couple of years and see applications being retired off of it, this allows us to be able to reduce the usage we have on those mainframes and actually have a cheaper cost for the state, all the way down until you have that last program left on the mainframe. If you hadn't done this, that means that last agency, that last program would have had to carry the full cost of owning those mainframes all the way up to the end. Another place is with Genesis 10, a private company outside that is a staffing firm. We actually did an RFP looking for how we could bring in new and different talent to the state of Minnesota. With them, we created a program called Uplift. What they do as a company is go out and find potential IT talent. Maybe someone who's done a couple years in college, maybe returning vets, maybe people coming back in the workforce after taking time off. They take on the responsibilities of training, making sure their skills are up to date, and they provide them to the state as low-cost consultants, with an option for us after 12 months to be able to flip them to employees. This was actually a program that has been spreading across multiple other states because it was very unique, and we were one of the first states to do it. But other states are latching onto it as a way to really be able to move that training, move that recruiting, move the look for talent off to another company, and still give us the option going forward of do we want to have them as full-time or keep them as consultants. You also see this around projects and the governance structure we've set up. All of the major projects we have going on, we look to reach out and make those decisions of buy versus build, of where can we bring in partners. A lot of times with these big shrink wrap or packaged software that you would buy, you don't try to implement that yourself. You bring in a service integrator who are experts in do it. Ones who do it not just once, not just twice, but go out and do this over and over and over again. Thus, they're able to come with the playbook. They're able to come and hit the ground running and really be able to help you with the expertise to be able to drive forward. But we still need to be able to manage those vendors. And one of the important things we've done with moving the project governance, and I would just say project and program management and general maturity up, is making sure that both IT and our expertise that we bring are at the table with our business partners, making sure that those solutions are driven, and then weaving in where we have the private industry with all of these different deliveries. While it fluctuates a little bit, overall with our IT spend, right around 50% is with private industry right now today. Up to this point, IT consolidation has been able to show savings for the state of Minnesota. Since 2013, within those enterprise services, and those are continuing to grow as we bring them together, we've actually had savings of a little over 26 million due to staff and software elimination because either duplicity or economy of scale, which is part of why we are bringing those together. Because the ability to be able to purchase contracts looking at the state as a whole instead of all of those agencies being unique, which is what had occurred before, we're now able to leverage the full power of that economy of buying for the whole state, which averages about 15 million a year in cost avoidance with those contracts. We also have been working hard, and I know there's been a lot of discussion around data center reduction. We were over 40 data centers to begin with. We're now down to 27. We hope to continue to drive that down to 6. But even with what we've been able to do, we're able to average, again, 6.2 million in cost avoidance with data centers. Now keep in mind, and going back to, we're rate-based. That does not mean that's extra money that Minute has. What that means is that's money we don't charge, which is why you'll hear us repeatedly refer to it as cost avoidance. What it means is our rates either can go down or not go up as much as they would have and not be able to pass that along. Historically, you can see that IT spend at the state has actually trended down. The last 2 years that you see on this graph are actually budget, since we don't have the final on that. And while it has generally been within a narrow band, you do see that downward trend. I can say this is occurring even as demand for IT services has increased across the board in every service that we provide, except for some of the legacy ones that we're modernizing off of. So what are our challenges going forward? I've touched on it briefly, and I see this both as a challenge, but really an amazing opportunity. We have over 2,800 applications in our application portfolio across the executive branch. That means we have the opportunity to really look for synergies, for opportunities to be able to leverage economy of scale, and to be able to reduce what we have there now that we're looking at it as a whole, instead of the little individual slices. You've heard me touch on, and this is a challenge across the industry. We know that IT is one of the fastest growing skill set areas right now, and that demand is far outpacing what we have available. So you see us being able to help take on the challenge with the Uplift program, with some of our private-public partnerships to make sure we're not facing that alone. That said, I talked to a lot of my colleagues at some of the largest companies here in the Twin Cities, share what I have and what they're doing, and we all face very similar challenges around that. We also have, as a state, together, a large accumulated IT debt. What I mean by that, much like when you buy a car, and even though it says change the oil every X number of miles, the car doesn't stop working if you don't. But the more times you put that off, the more times we don't do the maintenance and upgrades, at some point, it's not simple maintenance of the car needs to be replaced. And we have some applications that, quite frankly, scare us. We've reached that point in IT debt that we need to make some decisions together of what do we need to do. I will tell you the Department of Education has a major application that most of the money that flows through to the public schools utilizes. Many of you hear how old COBOL is, right? Even if you're not an IT person, I'm sure you've heard COBOL, it's old. Before COBOL, there was a language called assembler. The language this is written in is pre-assembler. I can't find people who know this language anymore. I've done a lot of turnarounds, I've gone to a lot of companies. This was actually a new language that stumped me when I came in. I'd never heard of it, and I had to go research it and find out it was something that was big in the 50s. We need to make decisions around that system. Similar, Human Services has a lot of mainframe spread across their organization. And while they've kicked off a number of modernization efforts, our concern is, are we able to get that transformation complete before the staff that really knows and supports these and has that skill set are still around and available? There was actually a highlight recently in an article of someone who is over 80, who still drives into the state and still performs vital maintenance on some of these applications. Department of Corrections is another one with a number of their systems and the languages they're written in. The vendor who wrote that language has literally told us that in 2020, it will stop working. It's past support. They've already said it's past mainstream support. We're now at a point we will pull the DLL, what allows it to run, out of the computer operating systems, and it won't work. So this long-term IT debt does scare us. Even with all of the possibilities we have to make some decisions of how do we deal with this and what can we do going forward. In your packets, you actually have a copy of the 5-year master plan. I'm going to touch on some highlights. Unless you'd really like me to read it to you, I'm sure that would be very exciting and we could be here for a long time. So what is the IT master plan? It is really as an intent looking to set our long-term vision for the technology strategy. It's going to help guide the IT investments. And it's something that we're hoping is our guiding principles going forward. This has been reviewed by our TAC, which is legislatively mandated as a technology advisory council. That includes a number of agency leaderships as well as members from private industry. So we use them as a sounding board, as an advisory group to go to and say, these are our plans, what say thee? It's really organized at a high level around 4 strategic themes. Each of those themes then has a number of strategies underneath those that will help us fulfill that theme. And then from each of those strategies, we're developing metrics so we're able to report on an annual basis of how we're doing on this plan. I would say in the past, while we had a very bold one, I think it was sometimes hard to see those hard metrics around how are we doing at moving that ball forward. High level, you'll see those 4 themes are around cybersecurity, which I'm sure is not a surprise. You hear from my commissioner quite often. That is his number 1. You see IT leadership for our partners. Again, that theme of recognizing that IT needs to be in alignment with what business, what our partners, what the agencies are looking to do. Number 3, smart IT investment. We want to be able to be fiscally responsible around how we are investing in IT and where can we gain efficiencies. And 4, and very bluntly, deliver. We understand that IT will always be measured on how do we deliver on those projects, on those applications, and on those initiatives that we're entrusted with. Under cybersecurity, you can see the strategies. I will tell you at a high level, there's been a 5-year plan around cybersecurity that's been talked about. I will tell you all 3 of these really tie into deliver on that plan. Around IT leadership for partners, you'll see us, some of the highlights really look at where can we sit down with our business partners and find those common technology solutions. Again, not everything needs to be unique and individual. It's really working with our agencies to help understand what can they do. I know in the past, and I will freely admit, we weren't always the best at being able to sit down with our agency partners and helping them understand that if you make this decision, this is the cost, this is the ramifications of it, and here's some other options that you may need to consider as we look to go forward. It's also really centered around delivering solutions faster, quicker, and being able to leverage any of those private partnerships that we can. There is a speed to market factor in IT that we need to uptick here in government and be able to bring it in alignment with what I see out in the private industry. Smart IT investment, right? As we all know, this is one of the important ones, and as much as we love the shiny technology, it has to be in alignment to provide good value for what we're investing. And it's not only the good value, we want to make sure there is that transparency for everyone on what is the cost associated, and then what are some of the options around that. And while there's a number of strategies around deliver, what I really want to just touch on is that first one. Execute and deliver Minnesota's technology priorities. To me, more than anything, that is what we will be measured on and what we should be measured on. On the other side of where you looked at our mission, vision, values, and something that we refresh each year, and I will just touch on briefly, is our yearly strategic priorities for that calendar year. You'll see these very much pull from the 5-year plan and place it forward of what we have that year. I'm going to go quickly through those, but again, it's in the packet where you can take a look at them and dive a little deeper. Number one, and I know it's a big surprise, is secure the state and around cybersecurity. Number two, create possibilities. This is really being able to follow that theme of sitting down with our business partners, helping them understand where technology can help them drive their mission forward and where we can leverage those common attributes. And three, and we didn't touch as much on this, but it is really to finalize our foundation. When you talk those enterprise services, that economy of scale, we want to be able to accelerate as much as possible and get that set in place. Let's squeeze what we can out of that. Let's get that solid and be able to be a flexible and multi-choice delivery option so that we can now move to that next layer where the business value is, where the citizen value is, and where we need to make the decisions on an application portfolio. So let us drive and finalize that foundation. With that, I'm actually going to turn it over to Assistant Commissioner Jenna Covey, who also serves as our Chief Digital Officer. She's going to walk you through, as I had mentioned at the start, a number of applications and websites that we right now have today that are citizen-facing and that people can use. I know, and I believe she will let you know this as well, that you actually have received an email with a number of links. So I think, as we jokingly said, yes, this is a committee you can pull your phone out and actually be able to play with, or your laptop, as we're going forward with the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Owen. And any members have any questions at this point? I didn't want to make it appear that we didn't want to ask questions through that. So if there's ever any time you want to ask questions to the testifier, let us know. In fact, I did have a question, if I could go back for just a minute, to the chargebacks and how you work with other agencies. Do you basically operate on a per hourly basis on projects, and has that rate, or if it's a job rate as a whole, has that changed much over the last few years since your beginning, if you would, please, Mr. Owen?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, it depends. So if they're the local services, which are mostly the application development, so a lot of what you do development locally, no, that hasn't moved to a true hourly rate because those are direct pass-throughs. So if you're agency A and you have 5 developers, you just pay the full salary for those 5 developers. Now, we do have charge codes so that if an agency needs the maturity to be able to split the cost of that individual across different programs, either due to funding or to be able to break out the cost and just distribute it as needed within their agency, they can be able to block what hours are being charged to it. But we have not yet moved to a full enterprise or a full across-the-board rate chargeback from that perspective. And now in the enterprise services, we're generally bundled to develop or to deliver a service as a whole. We try to stay away from widgets so that when you call up, you don't have to order all the little pieces that make up being a worker at a desktop. So you'll actually get that full, complete package that includes help desk support and many of the other things bundled together. That said, because there are projects, and projects need sometimes unique things that aren't developed in the service, there are professional rate hours within that package for people who have expertise in those enterprise service areas. So network, managed hosting, a number of those. I actually believe, and I can clarify and bring this information back, that our hourly rate has trended down. And that's something we've actively looked at, is what are the right levels we need to be at in each of these services? What's the right size that we need to be at from a team perspective to make sure that we're delivering for our customers, but also in alignment with what we would see out in and across the private industry.
All right, thank you very much. Now the fun stuff begins, I guess, with you, Ms. Covey. So it's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Excuse me. Also wanted to thank all of you for the opportunity to be here today to highlight some of the things that we've been able to deliver at Minute in the digital space. I also wanted to start with a brief history of how Minute and the state have really used the internet and digital services to connect to Minnesotans talk a little bit just about, in general, digital adoption trends, where and how are the public using these kinds of tools today. And then we'll really get into the fun part, which is looking at some of the apps that we have helped build. So really, our history goes back to 1997 when the legislature appropriated $900,000 for the North Star web portal, which when you look at it from a screenshot that I got from the Wayback Machine, if you guys have ever heard of that website, it's pretty cool. You can go look at websites from yesteryear. It really looks like it was just a web page with links to other web pages, but obviously it was more than that. This was where the state really first started to think about how do we want citizens to start connecting with us. And at that point, it was really to be white pages, which was, I think, how a lot of people thought about the internet at that point. So really an online directory of state agencies and the services that we provided. At this time, the North Star portal was built by the Office of Technology, which was housed in the Department of Administration at that time. And it really was just those online directory functionalities. In 2002, the Department of Admin entered a public-private partnership to update the portal and expand functionality. And that functionality was really when we saw the state's first search engine come into play. We had a calendar of events. We had surveys that citizens could take to give their feedback on the services that government provided. So you started to see people kind of expanding how they thought about the web, what people could do with it, really starting not to just give people information, but to get information back from citizens. In 2011, this is shortly before Minute became an agency, the state upgraded the platform again. So as you can see, we had a brand new technology platform, but the website looked exactly the same. So that's really just to say that by upgrading our underlying platforms, that's only one piece of what our websites are built on. All of that user experience layer is really built on front of that. So just by upgrading the platform, it doesn't really mean that we are expanding a lot in terms of what it looks like, how people are using it. Although when we did upgrade the platform, this was really when the state started to more loosely couple to the online services that agencies were providing. So basically that means that the back end, the platform, was starting to come closer together to the front end, or those more web apps that you see today. And today, this is an example of how our websites look like. We also recently upgraded the same platform that you saw in 2011. Our site today is HTML5, which means all of our websites that are on this platform are mobile friendly. They're responsive to different devices. That means that they're a lot more accessible to our assistive technology. It also means that we're able to design web templates one time and deploy them across all of the agencies that are using that, which helps us develop more cool things and deliver to the agencies a lot more quickly. So the goal here is really to help improve consistency across the agencies, not necessarily uniformity. So the agencies still have a lot of individual design choices that they can make. They can choose to integrate a lot of different services, particularly with this newer web platform. And another piece that I would say about this is that today people use search engines. So you see this more and more, is that rather than going to the list of links like you saw from the Wayback Machine, people are using their smartphones, they're using Google, they're using their search engines to really find government services. So we're really focusing on that piece of our digital strategy, and we continue to make improvements and think about how we're delivering web services to the agencies and to our customers. And in your packets today, you will see a handout for mn.gov Connect, which is a showcase of digital services that the state offers. That particular handout is a handout that we gave to thousands of Minnesotans this year at the Minnesota State Fair, with services that could help them get to the fair and would be things that fairgoers would be interested in. So the Fish Cam is one of the most popular apps at the state fair. It's hosted by the Minnesota DNR, and it gets millions of hits while people are at the fair, helping educate citizens about the things that the DNR is doing, and also help citizens just engage with the mission of the agency. So you can either use a QR code reader or visit mn.gov Connect to see all of the or many of the applications that I'll show to you today, as well as just a number of other apps that agencies have chosen to highlight.
So, Ms. Covey, if I could, too, was that your first year at the State Fair? Do you plan on being there again?
Yes, so that was the first year that Minute has produced a piece at the State Fair, and really, as Jesse touched on, we are really a horizontal agency. We are integrated with every agency that is at the State Fair. So rather than Minute doing a standalone booth, what we wanted to highlight are the apps that we help power with and for the citizens of Minnesota with our partner agencies. So we had these handouts at each of the booths, and this is something that we're looking at doing. All of the apps that are there, but I think on an annual basis, we could certainly take a look at what does the state want to really help promote. There's probably a lot of services that citizens don't necessarily know that we offer, and I think that's a great opportunity for us to help promote those services.
Well, and knowing that, too, I think that one thing that we'll be sharing a little bit with the committee is, we're going to be doing some listening sessions around Minnesota this summer. I think the Minnesota Great Get-Together is a place for us to consider to sort of settle in for a bit of time and making sure that we're asking questions to the millions of people that go through there to say, what should your state be able to do? So it's exciting to know that you already are sort of set up there, and that certainly could be one of our visits this summer to the members of the committee. And before I forget, too, I want to let everybody know, too, if you haven't checked your emails, but you should have received an email just in the last few minutes from Minute regarding just the applications we'll be looking at. So I just wanted to make sure members could start pulling that up when you get to that point. So go ahead. I'm sorry. Thanks. Thanks, John.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So really, why is the web important for state government? And I would say one of the things for us to look at today is that it's definitely a journey, not a destination. As soon as we deploy a new web content platform, we are keeping up with the market. We're keeping up with all of the other big technology that the private sector and citizens are using every day. So our job is to make sure that we are keeping our technology up to date, so it's really accessible for all Minnesotans. And it's really about helping make vital information available to all Minnesotans when they need it. This is our 24/7, 365 channel for getting important information about the services that we provide to our citizens. And as several of you have touched on today, government can be really complicated for people. They don't see government in terms of individual agencies. They are looking for specific services. They want to get their driver's license renewed. They want to get a fishing license. And most of them are using a search engine to find that, not specifically looking for X agency when I need to get X thing done. So we've got a big opportunity to help create that user experience for citizens as they're coming online. So next, I just wanted to spend a little time talking about tech adoption across America, and then also drilling down into some of the stats from our metrics here in Minnesota. And in the chart from Pew, you can see that today over 88% of Americans are connected to the internet and are using lots of different kinds of devices and digital channels to consume information. And we've got a big opportunity to provide services online more than ever before. And this means that rather than people connecting to the web from their desktop, government really needs to understand what those channels are and how people are connecting. So today, it seems like everybody uses their smartphone to do everything from ordering pizza to tracking game stats online. But smartphone ownership actually exhibits a lot of variation based on age, household income, and educational attainment. So I just wanted to talk about a couple of the outliers there and what those look like. So today, 92% of our 18 to 29-year-olds use smartphones versus only 42% of seniors that are 65 and older. Income earners of less than $30,000, about 64% are using smartphones versus over 93% of income earners of $75,000 and more. Folks with less than a high school degree, less than 50% of those folks are using smartphones, and about 90% of college graduates are using smartphones. And again, urban, rural, today, about 80% of rural citizens are using smartphones versus roughly 67% of rural citizens. So what does this data mean to us? Well, only 42% of seniors are using smartphones. For citizens that are 55 plus, over 75 to 80% are. So as we start to look at the baby boomer generation, they're going to want and expect to use digital services in a way that seniors in Minnesota never have. Today in Minnesota, we've got a great service called the Senior Linkage Line. It is a line that seniors can call to dial in to find out about all of the services that state government provides to them. Again, it's a white pages model of finding those services that are available to them. But in the future, our seniors are probably going to expect an Amazon type of service when they are looking for services that are available to them for the state. So we really, going back to the smart IT investment piece, have an opportunity to start planning now for what digital services in the state really look like. On the next slide here, I also wanted to talk about what internet availability looks like for Minnesotans. And this chart is from the Minnesota Office of Broadband Development. The red pieces on the map here show households that 50% or less have access to high-speed broadband, and the blue portions are 90 to 100% broadband. So you can see that there's a lot of variance in communities across Minnesota that have high-speed broadband available to them. And it's kind of surprising, even looking in some of our more metro areas in Minnesota, that there's even variance there. So we've got a lot of considerations to make about how we are delivering those services to folks, and if they're not using broadband, how are they connecting? Is it through a smartphone? Is it through visiting other areas that do have broadband? Or are they relying on other means of connecting to government?
Ms. Covey, we have a question from a member. So Representative Bennett, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks for this presentation. It's very interesting. Question about broadband service. So you were just talking at the end how they may be receiving those services in a different mode, via cellular or something.
Yep.
Have you checked overall connectivity versus just broadband for the services that people, and especially greater Minnesota, are receiving, if they're getting that fast connectivity in another way or not? How is that differentiated there?
Ms. Covey.
Thank you for the question, and I don't have that specific data. Minute has partnership with the Office of Broadband Development. It's obviously one of our priorities because we can't provide our services or partner with our agencies to provide those services. But I don't have that specific question. In the next slide, I'll show you some of the data that we do have about mobile specific versus web stats. But looking at these types of maps, I could follow up with the Office of Broadband to answer that question for you.
Representative Bennett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think that would be a great idea. With just how quickly technology changes, we should almost be rewording our, Office of Broadband to maybe Office of Connectivity or something like that, because technologies are moving so quickly that broadband may be obsolete and it may move into I'm talking about, burying the wires versus other types of technology. So it'd be good to have that information so we can really adequately assess what the connectivity is for various communities. Thanks.
Representative Bennett, that's exactly why you're on this committee, is that's a very good point. A lot of people don't even know what broadband is. And it's kind of actually, it's an old word now. It's interesting. Good comment. Thank you for sharing. Representative Quam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I think it'd be appropriate, since many of the members are seeing this first time, the font and especially the graphics are a little bit challenging to make out. If this set of slides was available in a soft copy that could be distributed to the committee.
That's a great point. Thank you. All right. Anybody else? Ms. Covey, please continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I have a member question again. Representative
Thanks, Mr.
Becker.
Chair. I was just to add what Representative Quam said. I think it might be great if our committee can be maybe one of those committees where all the materials we have could be available online for folks to follow along or to reference later. I think that would
Very
be
good point.
really helpful.
Thank
So,
you.
Thanks.
And actually a link as well for audience members. And again, I think we're on the House TV today too. As we are showing this now, and maybe this is a question for our technology folks, are folks able to see this too online as well as not just the testifiers that are actually seeing this as well? Okay, good. That's good to know that. So we're about technology. We're off and running. Thank you very much. All right. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So on the next slide here, I am showing some specific data from 2 of our state agencies. And at the state, we really have 2 core users of state web resources: citizens, and then also our business government type of users, and they have very different needs. So on the left-hand side, you'll see at the bottom DHS, and on the right MMB, the blue and green lines. So for example, over time, a citizen-focused agency like DHS will see a larger increase in usage versus a business government type of agency like MMB, because citizens are starting to adopt and use those online services more. So you can see a pretty significant jump between 2015 and 2017 in the number of citizens that are connecting to DHS's services versus the number that are connecting to MMB's website, which is a pretty specific audience of government business users that stays pretty stagnant over time. And as we continue to move forward, we have to recognize, to your point, Representative, that the infrastructure that we use to deliver this content to citizens is also changing. Citizens are switching to more content being delivered to mobile devices over a network that is a lot slower and has a cost that is based directly on how much they consume, which is the cellular data that they're using on their phones. This means we have a direct impact on how long and how much that service is going to cost for those citizens to consume. So for example, using the DHS 2017 data, we had roughly 60,000 visitors that visited about 2.19 pages per visit. And with our new platform, we had a 25% reduction in page load time based off of a 4G cell connection, which was about 3.15 seconds for a page to load for those users. So if we use the same stats with a page load of 3.6 megabytes and the cell carrier cost of $10 per gigabyte, that same 25% reduction in page load time would result in cheaper cell phone bills for all of those people using our services. So as a best practice, we should really be looking at deploying new web pages where we see growing traffic. So really digging into the metrics, into the data to look at how are we delivering the content, what kind of content is it, and who is visiting and how long is it taking for them to load those pages. So our key takeaways here. We really need to spend time thinking about who we are designing for, digging in and using analytics to find out who our users are so that we know what kind of devices they're using and the kind of information that they're looking for. We also know, looking at the digital divide today, that 100% digital goal is still on the horizon. So we really need to look at who those users are and understand how they're connecting to the services that we're offering. And then lastly, long-term investments in our infrastructure, including broadband and the type of servers that we're deploying, really make a difference in supporting digital adoption with the end users that we're supporting. So we are now to the fun portion of the demo today. So for those of you that brought laptops or devices to try out this, I would make sure that you are connected to the wireless in the room so that you can have the best experience as we're looking at the apps today. And I also did want to just show one last chart from Pew today. One of Minute's 5-year strategic goals that we rolled out is really to manage data as an asset for the state. We know that we can use data to help policymakers make decisions on important issues and also visualize the statewide impact that the policies that they're making have on Minnesotans. And Pew has recognized Minnesota as a leader in this space for the data that we're making available for Minnesotans and policymakers and businesses to help them in their work with government. But we still have a lot of work to do to make data more available and more across government as an enterprise. So the first tool that we are going to look at today is the Minnesota Geospatial Commons. MinGeo offers GIS data maps and web map services to the public and promotes an enterprise-wide approach to delivery of GIS services. There are over 647 data resources available on the Commons, and there are over 25 organizations participating in making data available. And today I'm going to show you 2 examples. One, how a business uses data that's available on the Commons. And then secondly, we're going to look at a classroom application that it helps students pass the social studies and geography portion of our educational standards in Minnesota. So this is the homepage of the Commons that a business user would come to, and they would be able to download the data that they're looking here. And for this case, let's say you are a real estate agent and you want to analyze local tax records for clusters of high residential market value.
Ms. Covey, if I could ask the question again, I clicked on the link. I'm looking at the state of Minnesota, and it's actually asking me to enter an address or place. So my question would be, too, one of the things that we get a little worried about is, are we being tracked when we log into this thing? Do they kind of always know where we're at? And maybe that's just part of our smartphone technology now, but I think it's a question folks like me that don't understand technology as much. When we place that into this now, is that just, it's basically knowing where we're at, so that it can tell us where you're at on the map.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So the link you clicked on is actually going to be for the next part of the demo that we'll look at. So the example I'm showing you is the business case. But to answer your question, the app that you're looking at today is a web-based application. And when you're entering the address, you would be entering a specific location that would bring you to that point on the map. So I think what you're pointing to would be a more of a actual mobile app that would need to ask you for your permission to find your location on that. And certainly in the Commons and all of our applications, that is one of the things that in Minnesota we take really seriously. So we always let citizens know if we are asking them for their data, and we also have a lot of information about how and why we're using that data when that is the case. So thanks for the question, Mr. Chair. Any other questions on that piece? We'll continue on. So I'm just going to go back one. So the first chart here is really looking at those local tax records for clusters of high residential market values. And we could also look at where recent sales have taken place. We could also visualize where clusters of homeowners have invested in properties via residential building permits. Or we could also look at new sites, or look at sites where we wanted to build a new restaurant and just want to compare where we've got high home values near where areas where cities are planning commercial or mixed land use. All of this data is available on the Commons, so it reduces the amount of time required for our business partners to find and pull all of that data together. And here I've got a quote from a local business user in the real estate industry who uses the Commons for his business and really is calling it an indispensable tool for providing that data for them so that they can really do their business. So this next part, we are going to visit an application called Food for Thought, Connecting Minnesota Geography with Agriculture. And this data set features 18 Minnesota academic standards based on K-12 lessons in MAP. And you can get to it by clicking that first link in your email or by visiting the link on the map. And the first thing that I'll point to in this particular application is that when you pull up the application, you can see that there is a layer list that looks like a stack of papers off to the left-hand side. And by choosing different layers, students can look at what kind of products are available in their particular region. If you want to, you can also enter a specific address to see if those products are available there. You can also mix and match different kinds of maps together. The Food for Thought website also provides free curriculum for teachers and students, which is really designed for students to master the academic standards in social studies and geography. And this also really fosters students' ability to think innovatively about how the data could be applied in the real world. So taking real agricultural data that we have about Minnesota and asking questions and using GIS data to think creatively about the industries that they have in their own backyard. And I'll give you a minute just to take a look at this particular app and answer any questions that you have about it.
Looking at central Minnesota, there really are a lot of turkeys there. And
Yes, there are.
it shows a lot of that. That's amazing. Yeah, well, yeah, they are. So it was a joke, but some of them are here, yeah. All right, members, any questions so far? Okay, please continue. We've got about 30 minutes, two folks. We are going to be adjourning at about 10:45 today, just so we kind of all make sure we're on the same timeline.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the next web app that we'll look at is the Statewide Longitudinal Education System, or SLEDS. And SLEDS links together data from K-12 schools, colleges, and work in order to understand the transitions that students are really making between our education system and the workforce in Minnesota. And this information is used to evaluate our many education and training programs, to evaluate how effective they are and how they are working for Minnesotans. This project is managed jointly by the Minnesota Departments of Higher Education, Employment and Economic Development, and MINIT. And in this demo, the first question we'll look at is, how many grads move on to college in Minnesota? And you can see that in our state, 70% of our students are moving on to college, as well as some other metrics as well. And the next portion here, we're going to take a look at developmental education. So really, how many of our students need to take remedial courses in math and reading to really move on to the core of their work. And we can see here that roughly 21% of our students fall into that category, and policymakers can also ask a variety of other questions by really drilling into the data here, comparing their local school districts with grad years, race, ethnicity, gender, and a variety of other criteria. In the completing college portion, policymakers can drill in to see what kind of degrees are earned by students in their district and how long it's taking students to complete college. So again, you can try this app at sleds.mn.gov. And in the first search bar, you can choose your local school district by choosing the magnifying glass. And you can also choose to select other comparing criteria. Otherwise, you can keep it simple and just hit done there to see your local school district and how it's comparing to our state as a whole.
The students from West Central Minnesota from ACGC, Newland, Spicer, and Wilmer, you guys are doing very well, by the way. So just want to point that out.
So you can see in SLEDS, there's a wide variety of different types of data sets that you can compare. Off to the right-hand side, you can choose your initial school district and then also add additional criteria to the right. So if you really want to start to drill in, you can compare additional school districts to the statewide averages as well.
So Ms. Covey, how long has this been available to our school districts and communities, this site?
Mr. Chair, I'll have to find the exact year for you. I know that this has been a multi-year project for us. We really started with the data governance piece, kind of getting back to your question. There's a process that we go through to make sure that all of the data is anonymized each year for the data that we put back into the tool. And a process there, and it's actually pretty fascinating if you're interested in the data portion. In the left-hand bar of SLEDS, the data and use link, I would recommend policymakers check out. There's good information about our data governance and data practices, best practices in that portion of the tool.
I know we hear of speed when it comes to getting test results. And I know that this is, I'm sure, down in the MDE department where they get the results up. When I pull up, for example, Wilmer, Newland, and Spicer, they have their 2015 graduation stuff here, not 2016, which was already, seems like it's a long time ago. I know that's an area that people are asking for much faster information so teachers can review their teaching outcomes quicker. And so this is fabulous stuff. We just got to get it quicker. Thank you. All right, next.
Great. The next application that we'll look at today is another web app that was built by the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency and Minute. It offers you a way to access a wide variety of environmental information about your community. You can also search for potentially contaminated sites and a lot of environmental permitting and registration information. So in this tool, there are two ways to search. In text search, the website contains a searchable inventory of properties, as well as the ability to search for businesses that have applied for environmental permits. This portion is really helpful for our businesses in Minnesota, so they can look at potential development sites, if remediation would need to be done in that site, and any permitting processes that they would need to go through before development could be done at those sites. And the map version of the tool contains a searchable inventory of contaminated properties, as well as sites that have already been cleaned up or are in the process of going through a cleaning process. So, for example, in the Capitol area, you can see that the Sears building is a leak site where petroleum products have been found. And this is a very, common pollutant type for that particular industry. So for policymakers, you can look at, when you kind of zoom out at the state of Minnesota, you can see in southern Minnesota, we tend to have more agricultural type of environmental things going on. In the urban areas, we've got more industrial type things. So for policymakers can take that zoom out, or homeowners can really zoom in, businesses can zoom in. So this tool has a wide variety of users that are using it. So again,
Representative Quam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And this site, about 14, 16 hours ago, the links were mailed out. Apparently the same as in the present email that was sent out just recently. Looking through there are multiple portions of this site that are not available or compatible with, this thing, which is a very popular tablet and operating system. And do you have a mapping of compatibility for the Android, OIS, and other systems, so that you're lacking in holes? Because it's great website, but if a lot of the mobile millennials can't get to it, or after the second or third time they go and it's not compatible, we lose them. So that might be something useful to understand, that penetration mobily.
Mr. Owner or Ms. Covey?
Mr.
Comment?
Chair, members of the committee, I think you're exactly right, and that's part of what we're really looking to do as we take a look across that full application inventory is what is the technology, what is it built for, and then what do we need to do as we now map out a roadmap for the full portfolio that the state owns going forward, so that it isn't being made app by app by app, but we can look at it holistically. As you heard Assistant Commissioner Covey mention before, that new web platform that we built up is HTML5, directly for that reason, and acknowledging that we need to make these available less as individual applications, but more mobile web friendly across all the devices we have here. Now it's a matter of how do we move all of those digital assets into that, and what is the roadmap to make sure that that happens.
So Representative Quam, are you saying, is that an Android device that you have there and you're not able to pull up what we're looking at today?
This is not an Android. It's made by another company, of which I don't think we're here to mention
Okay.
companies, but it has a pretty hefty market share.
Got it. Okay, thank you. There you go with that. So maybe my question too, back to the MPCA link, and a lot of really good information on here. Who instigated that link and that site and that information? Was that from the agency? Was it directed from the legislature, or how did that one get chosen, if I could ask that?
That's
Ms.
a
Covey.
good question, Mr. Chair. I would have to go back to our CBTO, our local technology representative at that agency, to get the history of that for
Okay.
you.
Just curious. Thank you. All right, further questions, members? No? All right, carry on.
Thank you. So as Representative Quam noted, for those on mobile devices, we would recommend using the text search for this application. For those of you on laptops, you can choose which view you would like to look at. And again, this is using the magnifying glass to search for an address. Obviously, if there isn't a site at that address, you can look for a city and look around your community to see what kind of pollutants are found in that area. And then the legend shows really what types of pollutants exist. So if you click on any of the particular sites and then click on the more info link, you can find out more information, including an overview of the status of the work being done and associated files. So really that brings you back to the associated database within that tool.
All right. Next link, the DNR State Park.
Next, we will bring you to the State Park Virtual Tour app with the Minnesota DNR. This is a really cool app that we partnered with the DNR to build, and this is a supplemental tool that helps people plan their trips to our state parks The year we launched the tool, it had over 21 million page views. And I would say that once you've used Minnesota's virtual tour app, you will never want to camp in Wisconsin again. The tours are really helpful for visitors to see the amenities that the park offers and help really plan the best experience for their families. So one of the goals that the DNR has had is to help younger Minnesotans and families get outside and explore our parks, and again, kind of getting back to that web experience. This is a tool that can help families that have maybe never camped before see the types of things that are available to them. So you can try it by visiting that link and choose the panoramic tour of your choice. I am from southern Minnesota. I would highly recommend Minneopa State Park if you've never visited before. It's beautiful. You can check out the features. And I think that this is just a great way. Not only is it helping bring more visitors to our park, but it's a great tourism driver, really helping us compete against other states as we're thinking about how are we bringing more people to our parks in Minnesota.
This is a fabulous link, and I know, especially with Sibley State Park, if you want to check out Sibley State Park. All right, stop with the advertising, right? What I was also going to recommend or just talk about was Explore Minnesota has a fabulous website too. I mean, again, literally you can hit a region on the state, you can touch it, go to a hotel, touch it, make a reservation literally within about 4 or 5 touches. Is this completely linked as well with Explore Minnesota at this time? I haven't checked their website, but how integrated is that website to what this amazing, these panoramic views are really, really neat? So is that all integrated as well?
Yeah,
Ms. Covey?
so the DNR and Explore work really closely together on a lot of these initiatives. And again, that's what we would talk about as more loosely coupled services. So just linking to these APIs and help drive traffic to those services.
And next, I suppose what we can look at some point is we can make a reservation at the Sibley, at a park.
Yeah.
Did I say Sibley? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say Sibley out loud. But we could make a reservation to a park.
Yep, that is another one of the systems we're not demoing today, but that we've made a lot of improvements over the last few years to really improve the registration process. Again, once you get in and into the site, you can look at specific campgrounds, you can look at what the bathroom and shower facilities look like, and it is pretty amazing. I am a big outdoor fan, so I've used this a lot, and if you do look at other states, I think this is an advantage that we've got here in Minnesota, is that we have really made this a priority and a space that we've done a lot of digital development.
Member question, Representative Nash.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To the testifiers and Mr. Boozy, if you need to come up, talk about, since this is an opportunity to enter personal information and possibly credit cards, what is the type of encryption that you've got available for folks? I'm sure, well, maybe not a lot of people are watching IT things from home, but they might be. But talk about that, because that's obviously very important to most of us, particularly Representative Lucero, who lives that on a daily basis. But talk about the encryption, talk about the security, talk about the safety of the webpage, if you would.
Yep. Are you,
Ms. Covey.
Representative? Thank you, Mr. Chair. Are you asking specifically about the campsite registration?
Campsite and all.
And all.
Since security is pretty important across
Yep.
all applications.
So for any of our applications where citizens are entering financial information, we actually partner with US Bank to handle all of our financial transactions. So that goes through all of US Bank's typical security regulations. We don't do any of the financial pieces in-house. And as to those specific standards, I could follow up offline to get more information on those specifics for you.
Representative Nash, any follow-up? Okay, thank you. All right, last one.
Last one. So the last tool I want to talk to you about today is a tool that is called GovDelivery. And as I'm talking to agencies and state employees, a lot of times the first question that I ask them is, if you had to get in touch with Minnesotans today quickly, do you know how you would do it? Because I think that ultimately that's one of the most important things that we do in government is get people information about the services that we provide when people need it. And that's why we signed an enterprise contract with a company called GovDelivery. It's a cloud bulk email tool that agencies can use to send email and text messages to citizens. And last year alone, 96 million messages were sent to Minnesota residents from government. We reached over 4.9 unique contacts, which is literally over half of our state received a message from government last year through this tool, which is pretty huge. And the thing that's really interesting about this tool is that it really allows us to create a typical marketing funnel where people can visit a splash page, enter their email. If people are in the process of registering for that campsite and they drop out, we can get pinged and find out why. We can say, hey, you guys were registered, you didn't get done, do you still want to do that? So it's a tool that allows government to think about how are people really getting through that service? Where are they falling off? Why aren't they being successful as they're trying to do this? And I think that we are really starting to use this tool more effectively now that it's an enterprise again, building accessible templates for the state to send, being able to design once and share those templates across all of our agencies. And we also have a unique opportunity with this tool to also partner with local government, county government, because we know people don't see those silos between different levels of government. This is also a huge tool that's used by federal government from federal agencies getting information out to citizens as well. So on this page, in Minnesota, we've got 2 seasons. We're in the second one, road construction season. You can visit the link, and if you're on your mobile device, you'll just see a big splash page. If you're on a laptop, you'll see in the lower right-hand corner a place to enter your email address. The DOT allows you to sign up for a weekly email, either based off of the region that you commute in, or you can choose specific roads that you travel on to work on a daily basis, and you will get a message about what is happening that week. So for a lot of citizens, this couples really nicely with the 511 app that you can download on your mobile device. You can get that weekly roll-up. Hey, this is what's coming up. I should plan my week around that. And then you can also use the 511 app to see real-time road construction on our roads. So that's kind of a quick hit there. And today we've highlighted a lot of apps that are used by business, they're used by our schools, they're used by policymakers, and they're used by citizens that use government data to make working with the state faster and easier. And I really wanted to use these particular examples to highlight some of the challenges and opportunities that we've got as a state looking into the future. So one, I think our biggest opportunity, Mr. Chair, as you've mentioned through this and several others today, is really working closely with citizens as we're starting to develop these services. It's really all about the user experience for us. We could spend a ton of time and resources developing an app, but if it doesn't work for people, then that's kind of sitting on the shelf for Minnesotans. So we really want to engage with citizens early on in the development process to make sure that it's working for all of our citizens. Secondly,
Excuse me, I'm just going to interrupt. We have a question from member Representative Lucero.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm a frequent user of the 511 app. And I do know that there are several GPS apps on here that most people leave their GPS enabled. And the GPS app then is collecting data in terms of speed to upload that to create a map for other users of the same app on speeds of a highway, et cetera. So I'm just curious with the 511, are you obtaining the data in terms of showing them as green, orange, red, dark red, et cetera, the different traffic from the GPS on them, or from the road cameras, or maybe another means?
Ms. Covey.
Thank you for the question, Representative. I will follow up with our app developer. I believe in this case, we're just getting an API hook from Google Maps in that particular service, but I want to confirm before I'm on the record on that one, so I'll follow up with you.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, please continue.
Thanks. Mr. Chair. So I think next, we really need to look at government services by what are the services that citizens need, not particularly by agency. So really re-envisioning, we're not the white pages. We aren't trying to recreate the government white pages. So really, how are people coming in the front door, and how can we make that information as easily available for citizens as possible? And I think that that really starts by using data and analytics. So we took a look at some of the data that we've got available today, and it's not by, for us, starting with just this is how we think or feel something would be great, but really taking a cold hard look at what the data and analytics say and starting there. And last, I think a big opportunity that is on the horizon for us as we're starting to get to this point is really sharing code with other states. The state of Minnesota invests a lot of time and money and resources into the code that we've built, and it's a valuable asset, and we would like to be able to partner with other states. I actually have been in calls with several other states over the last year as we're looking at building out additional web services. How can we create a code repository so that we can securely share this code and build it into a way that other states can basically build once and deploy many places? And I think that there's a large desire amongst other states to come together as well. So the flip side of that, I would say all of those opportunities come with their own challenges as well. As Representative Nash alluded to, we've got to make sure that anytime we're taking Minnesotans' private data or we're building applications, that we're starting with secure engineering from the first piece of code that we deploy. And we've got a lot of accrued IT debt, so a lot of old systems that we simply can't build new web APIs on top of. So we've got to really look at where's our greatest need and how do we get that updated so that we can start to plan for the future. Next, I think we've got a lot of work to do around data governance and data practices in the state. I think we've made significant progress in places like SLEDS, where you've seen multiple agencies coming together, and I think that's really the future of the state, where agencies are working together and really going through that governance process to figure out how we can make data work across agencies to really see how policies are impacting Minnesotans and having that data really available for policymakers to look at. Next, I think, we've looked at some of our best apps today, but I would certainly say that there is just frankly a lot of really bad design across a lot of government websites and services that we've got. It's not that the technology is bad. In a lot of cases, the technology is great, but we didn't spend the time making sure that the actual design was working good for people. And again, that just puts those apps back on the shelf because they aren't helpful and they aren't usable by Minnesotans. And then lastly, we've talked a lot about our enterprise web services today, but we still have a lot of siloed web parts in Minnesota. So websites that are built on old stacks, we still have a lot of static web pages in the state. We've got a lot of bad Java and things that aren't mobile friendly and aren't accessible to people. And a lot of those need to be looked at. And so just like a lot of things in Minute, we probably won't ever look at having one specific web service because, as you've seen, we've got a lot of different types of customers that look for government data. But for us, it's really how do we make it less? How do we get it down to a reasonable number so that we can really make those investments count? So I'm excited and grateful that we had an opportunity to come here today to talk about some of the things that we have been working on at Minnesota IT Services. And I would like to thank you for your time today. And Jesse and I would be happy to answer any questions you've got on any portion of the presentation today.
Ms. Covey and Mr. Rowan, thank you very much for coming and giving us that overview. I know that since really a few months ago when the speaker asked me to sort of start thinking about this committee and the work that we want to do, I've had many third vendors that have come with some thoughts and ideas. Obviously, some other states are doing some pretty amazing things, and we want to keep working towards that goal of making Minnesota, quite honestly, one of the best states when it comes to being IT friendly for our residents and for our customers. I want to keep using that in an analogy because that's what that is. And I think, part of our our committee webpage, we're going to kind of create something like that because we want to ask Minnesotans, what do you think we should be doing? You know, what do you want to do with Minnesota IT? What's important to you? I know that business people have certain things. Millennials have certain things. Hunters, fishermen. You know, to be able to get a reminder on your phone to say your fishing license expires in 30 days, would you like to renew it now? And to have that ability to just take care of it right then and there. Your license tabs are coming up. To not have people remember things and putting one more thing in a calendar or waiting until you realize you're 10 days overdue on your license tabs and you're kind of freaking out and then you're running to the register office. Those are the kind of things that we're trying to get to. And I'm hoping that with our committee work and our ideas and engagement with the community, engaging with the Minnesota State Fair, we're going to want to make sure that we find all these great ideas so that when we eventually have had a couple of meetings under our belts and have had some listening sessions around Minnesota, we can come back next year and actually try to have a very good focus on what we think anyway with our recommendations to other committees and to Minute. Perhaps we can say, hey, we are hearing overwhelmingly these are the top 5 areas we should be getting on this mobile app stuff real quick. And then we need to deal with, again, like the backbone that you had mentioned. I know I've had very good meetings with MnSCU, or now Minnesota State, about their system and how not current it is. The Cobalt system is not a friendly app for this, but it's functional right now. It's doing what it's supposed to do, but we sure can see a whole lot of good things happening with the college systems and higher ed that we need to do in Minnesota here. So lots to come, and this is a good starting point, I think a good launching pad to what we can do next. So I guess, members, with that, we are wrapping this up. I would suspect my goal would be that we have another 1 or 2 meetings yet this session if we can find it in our schedules to do this. I know when conference committees are happening and we're going to be having some long days on the House floor, that obviously is our priority. You know, with Gavin, our committee administrator, we want to make sure that if we can at least get 1 or 2 more in, that would be nice. We'll schedule some sessions around Minnesota that works for as many folks that can be there as possible. And we will communicate that as much as we can. We'll let the public know where that is. But we also really want to engage the MnSCU system as well. At one of our meetings, I know I want to have it at one of the sites in Rome, Minnesota. So we'll get out there and we'll go with that. We have a member question, Representative Quam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think maybe a bifurcation of the activities. One is the functionality and interface that the public sees, but the other part of, I think, what we need to look at is, the point was brought up, instead of buying new iron, they looked at scalability and long-term. We've got a lot of issues because of legacy, and if we're going to look at compatibility forward, there are platforms and vendors out there that have done for many states, but they are broadly connected, and that if we overemphasize internal generation of applications, we're maybe looking another 10 years, 5 years in the future where we'll repeat the issue because the people walking out there will say, you used what? As a programming. And I'm surprised they used COBOL. I figured Minnesota would have used Snowball. No, that actually is a COBOL and Snowball is a newer version of that language. But,
I would never question you, Representative Quam.
The whole thing is, if we can look at the bifurcation and not just, ooh, it looks pretty, but it runs good and lasts a long time.
Good point. Thank you very much. Other member questions, comments going forward? Any other thoughts? Again, we're going to have a lot of fun, and I think this is going to be a working group that can, again, as I mentioned before, keep dreaming, but through our website that we will be kind of creating just a page for our committee. I want to make sure that residents know who's on our committee. We're going to put our smiley faces on there, and we're going to tell them where we're from. But also, we're going to ask them for their feedback and have a blog section where they can tell us what should we be doing. And I would like to make sure that we cover that at our future meetings, that we can hear feedback. I'll have our staff give us updates on that. And again, as people have new ideas, please share it with our entire committee. I want this to be very transparent, very open, and just full of ideas and ideas of things that we can actually get going on fairly quickly. IT, I don't have any patience for this. I really want to get moving on this as quickly as we possibly can. But obviously, we know you can't just throw up an application. You have to have something that makes it work behind it. And that's what we're going to start doing here. So we appreciate your 5 years of really diving into this thing and working with the agencies. And we need to find out now what agencies and what departments are ready for us to make the most impact as quick as we can. While we're sitting here in this 2-year biennium is what our function is. That's what our mission is. So with that, I think we'll continue to look for some more really good stories. We want to invite other vendors and other ideas that are out there to please contact us to possibly get involved in our discussions as a testifier, as some ideas. And again, I look forward to a lot more things. So with that, that's our agenda for today, members. With that, we are adjourned.